This is John Esser Sports Channel looking at 2025-2026. We're actually looking at the clubs that have, at the minute, produced their retained list. Now, we're looking at Barnsley first, the top of the list, of course. And let's have a look at what they have in their retained list. So they have 23 in their retained list. No surprises there, really. Keeler, Dunn, De Givney, Cotter, Connell, Phillips, Ravenhill. There's lots of J-Lo, Waters. Yeah, there's lots of players in there that we expected. One or two that haven't really been used that often, but they're certainly needed to be in place just in case they get the injuries and they need the depth of squad. They've certainly got that there. They've also got a contract option activated on Connor Barrett. Players to be offered new contracts as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, including Olka Atkinson, Flavel, Graham, Humphreys, Kozluk, of course, McCann and Tom Senior. So they've really tried to keep the better players there. Obviously, 3 players moving on to their parent club, Gauchi, Lembakissa and Rodriguez. They're going to be quite difficult to replace next year. I do hope, for the Barnsley fans' sake, they do, because this is the making of a really good side. The departing players, now this shows how much they can movement they've got in taking players on for next season. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 there, is it? 15? Yeah, 15 players there moving on. They've also got a handful of academy players moving on. I always worry when clubs move on their academy players, because sometimes it's short-sighted, sometimes it's to do with the money and the cash flow, especially when you get lots of them. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 academy players moving on. To me, I'd love to know your thoughts, Barnsley fans. Why so many academy players are moving on? Because if we can train up more of these academy players and get them into the football game, it's better for them, and it tries to introduce a bit more skill. Certainly for a team in League One, it increases the skill level, I think, in sort of League One, League Two, and the National League. So a bit difficult there. I'd love to know what Barnsley fans think. I think overall that's a pretty shrewd list there. They've got a lot of depth in there, and they've got a lot of movement for the next season. I think that the summer period will be very interesting for the Barnsley fans. Where do we expect them to finish? Quick little look at that. I think that this team is certainly capable of finishing in the top 6, and I think with the changes we would expect from this retained list, I would think that they should certainly be concentrating on a top 6 finish. What happened last year? I suppose there's going to be lots of people looking at that, and the manager's going to have to look at why on earth they dropped away like they did, and what could they have done to preempt that and change. What could they have changed to make it not happen, so that next season, if the same situation or situations happen, they'll be able to cope with it, and I'm sure they'll do that very, very well. So that's Barnsley. Shall we move on? Yes, we shall. So where do we move to? Well, we don't have Birmingham in there, so we'll go for Blackpool next. That's the next one that is in the list, and we shall have a look at what their retained list looks like. So they have 18 remaining under contract. Let's have a look at that. Apter, Ashworth, Bloxham, Coulson, Evans, Finnegan, Ashley Fletcher, of course. There's a few well-known names in that remaining under contract list. Contract option has been exercised on Beasley, so Jake Beasley will be staying. Discussions are with Carey and Pennington, and offered new terms. Upperwole. I'm sorry, I'm not really very good on some of those names. New contract has been signed by Harvey Bardsley, and now leaving the club. Let's have a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 leaving the club here. Chapman, Daniels, Donker, Gabriel, Hill, Jones, Lancashire, Moore, Norburn, O'Donnell, Onamar, and Jordan Rhodes. So one or two surprises there. Of course, we are trying to look. We are looking at the age of them, aren't we? We're constantly thinking, these players need to be able to get past 45 minutes. That's one of the problems with the Rotherham side. So when you start getting older players, or you perceive them as being older, sometimes their fitness levels just drop off, and it's not good for the side. Returning players to their parent clubs, these have got 5. They've got Baggott, Niall Ennis, Ofaya, Silvera, and Tyra, and they were all cracking players last season. I can see those being really a task to get replaced. However, this team has the name behind it, doesn't it? And Blackpool will always be able to call on the Premier League clubs. It has those connections, and it will be able to talk to them an awful lot easier than some of those League One clubs. And I think that they're going to find it a little bit easier, especially with the manager as like Steve Bruce. You've got to be able to. He puts a comment there on the website. These people can talk to the Premier League clubs and get absolutely the right player for that Blackpool side moving forward. How much leeway do they have exactly? Well, if you look at the retained list, it's not a big squad, is it? There are a number of players leaving, and there's a few of those loan players, 5 of them leaving as well. I can see that this squad really does need a little bit more depth. I look at that and I think, when you look at the Barnsley side at the side of it, you think that this really doesn't have as much depth as the Barnsley side. I can see this being quite a task for the manager, really, trying to keep within those financial constraints and trying to push it on. Will be a little bit difficult for this Blackpool side, I think, because I can see that that's going to be the Blackpool side's main point here is to try and create depth while also keeping the budget correct, and while also trying to make sure that they've got the skill levels as well. They had the skill levels. They've still got an awful lot of skill kept in that side, remember, for next year. But the problem here, the only problem I can see is that Blackpool now need to create a little bit of depth just for when or if they have an issue with suspensions or injuries or just general fatigue. So where do I expect them to finish? This side has to be thinking about the top 10, doesn't it? Their target has to be the top 10, if not the top 6. This side has the ability to be able to do that. They had a great defence at home. Next year they need to expand this and start to try and get more of an all-round product that can play just as well in defence at home as it does away. So now try and spread that into away games. And if they can, I think that this side will be certainly one of those sides that people just hate to play, because it's going to be, and I think it will be, a very difficult side to attack. That defence, I think, or I fear for Rotherham anyway, is going to be one of the top defensive sides for next season. So let's see if it is, and we'll move on to the next team, shall we? We actually go to the Bolton site next, and the Bolton site is not as easy to read. The retained list for 2025 on their site is actually more of a not retained list. So what have they done? They've released 4: Santos, Baxter, Coleman, and Jones. They've had now these are really important. These are loans that have finished are for Matet, Etet, and Murphy. So certainly Jay Matet, they're a really good player. I'm expecting that one to be a little bit difficult to find a replacement for. However, much like Blackpool, this side has connections. This side won't find it very difficult, I don't think. And they've really managed to keep the majority of the really solid players that we know are really good at attacking. That side was a really solid attacking force, but they just didn't seem to have the consistency throughout the season. They just seemed to sway a little bit. And although the fan base was really good, and the fan base even through their rough period wasn't really that bad. I know that you complained a lot when the going got tough and you weren't quite winning the games that you should have been winning, and you should have been winning them absolutely. I think that the fan base really did stick by the club quite well, considering how poorly the season was going at that particular point in time. Released, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players. Andretti, Brian, Fleury, Halford, Litherland Riding, Matheson, Luke Matheson, right, okay, Toole, Justin Shakespeare, and James Westwood. So a couple of one or two good players there, one or two interesting releases. Options exercised on Jack Dallimore and Sean Hogan, and in the younger squad they've released just one, George Barlow, and they've offered professional contracts to 7 players. Now, this is what I mean by looking at the Barnsley side, how many they've released of the younger squad. This side is doing what I like to see. It's giving them a chance and it's pulling them on. If you actually look at this whole system throughout the UK, a lot of these kids that go into the younger groups and try and get into the professional game fail to get a professional contract, and they all end up doing something completely different in life. And it's a little bit sad, because they obviously do it because they want to do it, because they enjoy football, or at least I hope that's why they do it. And this side has given them a chance. Look, you've proven you deserve a contract. Let's give you the contract and let's see if you can make good on it. And I absolutely think that that is the way to go. Brentford did that, and look where they are now. Brentford, actually, their junior squad has been built up from those youngsters, and that some of the kids that they brought on are absolutely phenomenal. I can see Bolton doing the same thing. I think they kept an awful lot of their good attacking players. I think that this team really is going to be one of those top 6, isn't it? If not one of the top 4 or 5. It's going to be one of the top clubs, I think, certainly for attacking. I think that idea of constantly of playing from the back and running down the sides like they did at Birmingham will be something that they do next season. I can see this being a good side next year, and good luck to you, Bolton fans. I can see this being top 4 or 5, certainly somewhere in there. Could they go for the top position? Next year, there's not going to be as many absolutely outstanding teams, I don't think. I think that we're going to see one or two that were up there or are up there at the minute at the end, just not quite performing quite as well next season. It's one of those things of how much money have people spent last season and how much can they afford to spend next season to try and keep it all up and balance the books at the same time. Gonna be interesting. I think that Bolton, though, have the edge here. One or two players, I mean, they've released just enough, haven't they? 9 players released there, and I think that they could certainly make if they make good of those 9 players they've released, how many they bring in, I think that they could do extremely well. We do have to think about the professional contracts offered to the younger squad there, because there were 7 of those. So how many will they bring in? They may not bring in many guys. They may think, well, we've offered 7 contracts for the kids. Perhaps we can only get 2 or 3 of the first team squad recruited from other football clubs. So let's see what happens in the transfer window, which we will be covering. So Bolton Wanderers, very good retain list there. Good for next season, isn't it? And we move on. We go all the way down to Exeter City next for the next one that's been given out over the internet. So Exeter City, players out of contract and departing. We were expecting a really big one of these at Rotherham, but at Exeter, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8 players departing at the end of their contract. Let's see who they are. Diabate, Harper, Ben Purrington. Wow, there's a name and a half. Angus MacDonald, know him. Sean MacDonald, Mitch Beardmore, Billington and Edgecombe. So there's a couple of really good players there that are leaving, because we've got to look at the mix of experience and the mix of youth and the older experienced player especially. And there's a lot of experience there going, and I just wonder how they're going to replace these Exeter. It's going to be really, really tough. They haven't got as good a connections with the Premier League as clubs that have been in the Premier League recently, such as Blackpool, and with some respect, probably Bolton as well. So it's going to be difficult. Players in contract negotiations, there's actually 5 of them: Watts, Richards, Borge, Lee and Frankie Phillips. So they have got a small cluster of players there who can play decent football, and we expect 1 or 2 of them will refuse contracts. They usually do, and 1 or 2 of them usually accept it. So we can see their squad being not too depleted at the minute. Players with options triggered, because we have to look at these as well. Jay Bird, McGuinness and Ifeko. So 3 really good players there. I think that's absolutely essential. For me, those 3 are the 3 that could keep them in League One. Certainly. Invited back for pre-season, Jones, McDonald, Mitchell and Wildshut. How many McDonald's did they have? Kevin, Angus and Sean. Wow. That's difficult for us people reading doing the watch-alongs, isn't it? Players returning to their club, parents' clubs are 5 of them: Colville, Hartridge, Trevitt, Whitworth and Yogan, and there's 2 or 3 there that were absolutely essential, I think, in that team. I think that they're going to find it quite difficult to replace those returning to their club. Offered new contracts: Birch, Oakes and Wilson. And players under contract, well, we'll just do the count of this, shall we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So not a huge number of players retained. But, and I say that very tongue-in-cheek, because Rotherham actually came down and had about 7. So it's not as low as what we did when we came down to League One. However, it's not massive. Look, you can get a side out of it, and I think that there are some really good players in there. The departing ones, yeah, we've got a fair few there. We've got room, haven't we? And that's what it's about this summer period. It's about creating a little bit of room, getting rid of Deadwood, and trying to bring in some youth, a little bit of knowledge and experience, and trying to get that balance right. Will Exeter do that? I think that the manager there is quite capable of doing that, and I think that next season will be an interesting one for them. Where would the fans of Exeter want to be? I've spoken to a few of them, and my view is that they want to try and be certainly in the middle of that League One, trying to make sure that there's no possibility of them being in the relegation dogfight. Can they do it? I think that they can. This side, I think they've managed there to keep a really good, solid chunk of the better players. They've managed to move on and move out enough of the Deadwood, if we call it that. Some of them because of how they've been playing, or one or two that haven't been playing, and they've tried to make sure that they get out what they need to in order to be able to bring in some good players, better players, improve the team. Can they improve the team? Yes. Will they? I hope so for the Exeter fans. I do talk to them quite a lot because I go down that neck of the woods quite often. I think that they will. I think they certainly can. Where do I expect to see them next season? I expect to see them roughly where they are now, but perhaps slightly higher than this. I think that they're going to be slap bang in the middle for next season for me, right in that middle third. Sometimes looking up and thinking, hell, we're quite close to that top 6. I wonder if we can just go on a bit of a run and get up there. And sometimes just looking back and thinking, 12 points away from the bottom 4. Just keep it cool, guys. I think this team has the ability to stay up. I think they will. Next season will be very, very interesting for me, because some of these teams that I'm saying should be safe will actually make a total cock-up of their summer campaign, and it will go all pear-shaped. And I hope it's not Exeter. I've seen the fans. The fans are brilliant. They were brilliant last season. They pushed and pushed and pushed, and I think they've got a good set of supporters down there. So I wish you well, Exeter. Mid-table for me, and again, go on past Exeter and on to the next one. So Huddersfield are next. 18 retained, including, let's have a look, Nichols, Thomas Kasumu, Ben Wiles is retained, Jacob Chapman, Spencer Sorensen, Kane, Evans, Radulovic, Miller, Bolka, Charles Ruskin, Healy, Taylor, Ladapo's retained, and so is Lopenda. So some really good quality players in there, and that's, again, it's a side that we can see just a little bit of movement available here. Now, this side had depth. So where's the depth gone? Well, we've got released 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18 players released. So absolutely. And we've also got one retired, Chris Maxwell, and I mean, who have they got leaving? Jonathan Hogg, Danny Ward, wow. There's a blast from the past. Ollie Turton, Josh Ruffles, Karoma. There's so many good names in there, and it's amazing if they're moving them on, and you're thinking, if they're moving on players of that class, What are they going to get in place of it? Now, obviously, Huddersfield they just seem to disappear. Finishing in 10th place on 64. Where did the season go wrong? Love to hear from you and tell me what you think, Huddersfield fans. There's some really good players there that are released. And obviously, again, we have to think about we've changed manager. He wants to put his own style on there, and some of those players just aren't his style and aren't the way he wanted to play. And I think that they desperately needed a complete change. Getting rid of that number of players shows me that this team and the management are actually looking to do that. Ongoing discussions with Ecclestone, return to their club, Chirua, Hodge, Lonvik and Callum Marshall. So that's going to be an interesting four to lose. However, I don't think they actually made so much of a difference to me. Those loan signings could have been so much better, I think. Just didn't quite light up the pitch as I expected them to do, because they've got a big squad. If you're going to bring in loan players, you're going to need some really damn good ones, because some of that huge squad they've got in their first team are really, 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 really good. I expected them to be in the top six, certainly. Next season, with a squad of that size, if they keep that squad at this size, they must be in the top six. Surely they're going to be in the top six. It's a case of this guy trying to stamp his authority on the market and say, this is the style I want to play, this is how I want to play, this is how I want to attack next season, and go and do it and prove that he can. And I think that he's got the budget here, he's got the ability. Will he go for class and reduce the number of players? He can actually, I think, and I think probably what he will do is spend more on less players and bring in a smaller squad that is absolutely phenomenal. And he can do that, absolutely. The backing of the owners is there. I don't think they have to reduce the size of the squad and increase the amount they're paying for each one. But I think that certainly for the if you have too big a squad, there's a lot of them that never get even onto the reserve list, and that can really, really hurt. And when you're sort of not even getting on the bench, it really hits the head when you're training that following week, thinking, well, I've got a very low chance of getting onto the bench at this rate, because they're keeping their place because they're playing so well. But it means that when they are called upon, it can be a little bit. It can play one of two ways. Having such a big squad, they can suddenly think, I've got to do well to be able to stay above all the other players in this team, which is really, really a really big group of players. Or it can just be that they've just lost heart during the last 4 months, not even sat on the bench. So we'll see how it works. It can work both ways, guys. Just don't fire me down and click the dislike just because I said perhaps they'll reduce the squad. I'm not saying that because of financial. I'm saying that because sometimes having them not even on the bench can be a little bit. It can be a bit divisive to the actual players, not to you, not to the finances, but the actual players who don't get even onto the bench. So we look like seeing this side. I think it has to be in the top six. It really does have to be in the top six. Outside top seven, but this side is capable of a top three. This side is absolutely capable of a top three. Looking at the released names there, and you think, you've got Scott High and Danny Isaac and Danny Ward, and you're thinking, they've let rid of some really good class players. Ben Wiles kept, of course, and you think Dion Charles, Michael Miller, and you're thinking these are all players that could and would very easily play in the Championship. I think this side is certainly one to watch for next season. I would probably, at a guess, say a top 3 or 4 place is absolutely where they should be thinking. And good luck to our fellow Northerners up in Huddersfield. Well, Mansfield is next, and wow, this is reminiscent of the Rotherham side that came down. It really is. 8 players retained. We've got Keanu Bacchus, yes, a good one. Blake Tracy, another good one. Cooper, Gale, Evans, Maris, Mason, and Oshilaya, very good indeed. Especially the Oshilaya. Loved him last season. I look forward to seeing him again next season. Options triggered though. We have 5 options triggered. Cargill, Hewitt, Lewis, Oates, and Reed. So some very good ones there. Still talking to Bowery, Dwyer, Lee Gregory. Ouch. My friend Roy will be hopefully listening to this. Yeah, he did tell me that he was out of contract. Discussions with the man himself. This is the guy that kept them at the top, put them at the top single-handedly. They have sort of replaced him a little bit with 2 players, I think. So one person replaced by 2, but he would be, to me, the kingpin of this side going forward. McLaughlin and Flinders. So there's some very good players there, and I'm not surprised they're trying to get Lee Gregory back in with a contract. Let's see what happens with that. Loans expired include Jordan Rhodes. Wow. Caelan Vickers and Ben Wayne. I'm really looking at the Jordan Rhodes probably there. I think Vickers was one that I like the look of on the 1 or 2 times I've seen him. Released. Now this is important. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 released. So Boateng, Flint, Kilgore, McDonald, Nichols, Pym, Quinn, and Williams. Ben Quinn and Stephen Quinn. Yeah, we've got some good players that are released there. And I think that realistically, it's because we need to be able to we need to be able to change this team, because we've got to look forward and think there's a good chance we're not going to get the likes of Lee Gregory back. And I think that my Mansfield subscriber, Roy, will be saying, I remember him saying on one of the watch-alongs, I really don't think we're going to get to keep him. He's far too good. He showed how good he can be. He's been looked at by so many other clubs. He's going to wait and see what else he's got out there. And Mansfield aren't especially a high-paying team, are they? So he could very well go to a higher-paying club. And I think that's what they're looking at here. Let's just... Boateng, I would have kept him, but you've got to think about all ages and the style of play. And I think that they probably got rid of some that they probably released some that they really thought it may not work for next season. And style, attitude, whatever. I think that they've got rid of some surprise ones there. I must admit, I'm trying my best to come up with a reason. Mansfield fans, including Roy, give me reasons for some of these players, because 1 or 2 of them are a little bit of a surprise to me, to be quite honest. Where do we see them next season? This was my team to watch, remember. I think Mansfield, they have got a really small squad, haven't they? And as soon as they lost that kingpin at the front, they missed being able to just push Lee Gregory up into the box and almost most of the time just he was going to get a shot on goal at least, and quite often it went in the net. So early on, losing him for the whole season was a real horrible nightmare to the fans. The manager must have been thinking, "Oh, the hell am I going to replace that one?" They did, but it took them so long to replace that one player with two more. And to me, they showed a lot of resilience, this team, and I think it still has a fair amount of resilience in it. Does it have the budget to be able to push up to where they were at the highest in that 6-7 slot? Really, I think they can. I think they can get up to that 6-7 slot, and I think they will at some point during the season. Will they stay there? There's a lot of good teams in this division. I think that this team has to look at targeting somewhere around 6th to 10th. I think that they'll be very lucky to get that, but I think that they certainly shouldn't be thinking any lower than they shouldn't be targeting any lower than 10th. I don't think. They were very unfortunate, I think, this season. They just couldn't get that front right when they lost Lee Gregory, and it took them so long, finishing there in 17th. Actually, they could have gone down all the way up to, was it the second game from the end, and you're thinking, it was cut and touch and go for them right up to the game before last, and you're thinking, will they have a season where they're looking over their shoulder at the relegation? I don't think they will. This team is essentially, quintessentially quite good. And I think that if they can get just one or two of those contracts signed, just one or two, if they can get Lee Gregory, I'm absolutely not concerned at all. I think that they will be in the top half, and I would hope somewhere between that 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th position. But if they don't get Lee Gregory, I'm thinking that's one hell of a player to try and replace. I think you're going to be talking near at the top of the bottom half, basically, to just under about 13th, 14th, 15th again. I think they should be able to be a little bit more consistent next year, as long as you don't suddenly get one player like Lee Gregory did going out injured, who's brilliant for the rest of the season, because that's what made them go really, really good and then boom, straight back down the table. So hopefully a little bit more consistency. I think that the Mansfield fans would probably enjoy that. So I'm looking forward to seeing Mansfield next year. A little bit more consistency hopefully next year. Who knows? They may surprise us. Let's just wait on Lee Gregory, and I'll probably make another announcement later on as we go through, and I give you my my transfer information in my other videos. So please do like and subscribe, and we'll move on. So we go for Northampton next, and it's Kevin Nolan's given his retained list. Players already under contract. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's good. We've got Tom Eaves in there. We've got Sam Hoskins, Jordan Willis. We've got Guinness Walker. We've got McGeehan, Baldwin, Liam Shaw, among the others. And we've also got a few out of contract. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So McGowan, Guthrie, Pinnock, Tomlinson and Deitch. Not really too worried about the ones that they've got out of contract. I was looking at the ones that they've triggered. They triggered Lee Burge during the season, apparently, so that he's got another year till the middle of the season coming. Patrick Brough has been invited back for pre-season training. Do we want to keep him? And conversations are also with Fosu. So Fosu down there, and he can be really good, but he can be a little bit. It can fly off the handle a little bit too much for me. Players who have not been offered contract and will be leaving the club. Let's have a look at the numbers that they've got to play with here. Really important figure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players moving on. Let's see if we've got any that are really surprising. Jack Sowerby. We've got Harvey Lintert. Akin Odimeo. And Ruben Wyatt, yeah, there's one or two interesting ones there. I think on the whole, that's probably a good set of players that they've actually moved on. Ones that didn't really play that well for them, or like I say, age or style doesn't fit the club. And I think that's what they were hit with, really, wasn't it, last year? They just didn't seem to have that mix. They were all very meh. They didn't get they just didn't have a poor period. I don't really remember them having a bad spell, but they didn't have a really good spell either. It was very, very consistent, almost very, very consistent. And we fans love to have a little bit of a good period, don't we? Where we can sing, shout, and really push on that side and hopefully extend the bloody period a little bit longer. Didn't really happen for Northampton, and I think with those players going, it should be quite interesting, because I think that they certainly had a good squad there, and I think they should have done better than they did. Loan players, for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, and I think that they need to do better with their loan players. If they can do better with their loan players, get better quality in, I think that they'll do so much better. Wasn't impressed by their loan players that they got in. Not really. Can they do better? You've got to look at the size of club and what their name brings to the industry. You look at Rotherham. What do you think? Yo-yo club. I don't think they'll be yo-yoing anytime soon. But that's what you think when you immediately say to somebody who doesn't know about football or in League One, oh, Rotherham, oh yeah, isn't that yo-yo club? Northampton, yeah, aren't they somewhere down sort of League One, League Two sort of stuff? And that's unfortunately going to affect how many great players you can get from the Premier League. I would personally probably be thinking about trying to get one of those teams at the top of the Championship, and hopefully that's where they'll go. Top of the Championship, get one or two of the younger players from there, and I think that's where they should be looking. If they can, I think that they're more likely to get some of those players from the Championship, knowing that they don't want to put them into the Championship with rival clubs. Let's put them down into the League One. And I think that's probably where I'd be going. Where am I expecting to be? Unfortunately, I think that they're going to be somewhere in that bottom half. Depending on what they do in the transfer market, they have got a good movement though. Northampton fans, you've just let go enough players for me to be thinking he could do something. He could come out with a cracker. He could come out with a couple of crackers. He's got a lot of movement. He really has got a lot of movement, this guy. And I think that Kevin Nolan's got an absolute gilt-edge opportunity here. I'm saying bottom half. He could make it the middle third. And I'm thinking, go on, Kevin. Show me I'm wrong. Make all those Northampton fans grin and smile and be saying, I told you so at the end of next season. Because I'm going to go with bottom half, but Kevin Nolan's got such an amazing chance here. Will he take it? Northampton fans, comment below. So Peterborough, 22 under contract retained. Any that we really that we're surprised about? I suppose one or two that I thought they might move on. But the majority of them are their better players, and they do seem to have kept them quite nicely. They've only released two, Ajiboye and Shimanga, and they've made available to sell, to transfer. So obviously we want the money from them. Sparks, Bradley, Bradley Ionvan. Right, okay. You tell me how I'm supposed to say that, please. Bilokapic and Wakeling. So that's the ones they're going to try and move on via the transfers. Loans returned, only two, Susoho and Katongo. And this is a side that is really, it's going to really retain its good quality squad from last season, isn't it? And they're trying to make they tried to make this side play a different style when they swapped manager, and they tried to look forward, thinking we can change how we play. We can move out the. Since they got rid of their captain, didn't they? They got other people in, and this is the side that was brought in, and he's going to stick with it, and he's going to try and make this one work. You know, they finish at the end 18th, and you think that last game was just a kick around in the park, wasn't it, against Rotherham? And it really was. The one game that we thought was going to mean everything at the end of the season meant absolutely nothing. I can see this team is able, if it can play the way that the manager wants to play, then I think this team could certainly be back in that top 6-7 position. I think it should be in that top 6-7 position. Why didn't it work? I don't know. I'd love to hear from you, Peterborough fans. It just didn't seem to work consistently, did it? Occasionally, brilliant. Yeah, you went to Wembley, won. Yeah, occasionally, you played brilliantly. But occasionally, it was just meh. And that's about as best I can put it. I don't know why. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. Yeah, I'd love to know why. I think there's a lot of movement in there. We have got under 21s released. We've got 5 of those. We've released under 18s. We've released another 5 of those. We have actually offered contracts to under 18s. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, or one's an extension. But yeah, it shows at least that you're thinking about those younger ones, and I look forward to Peterborough and what you do next season. But I think realistically that you should be looking at and trying to target that top 6. I think 6-7 position. Let's make a good target. Let's make it a good year. Peterborough fans, go for it. Tell me what you think below. Like and subscribe. So, on to my team next, and it's Rotherham United. Under contract, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 under contract. Cam Dawson, Joe Rafferty, Liam Kelly, Sean Raggett, Reece James, Joe Powell, Sam Nombe, good about that. Johnson Clark-Harris, not sure why. Have we just not let him on because he's on a really good wage, and we don't want him to suddenly go somewhere else and start putting them in the net like sweets, like he did when he was playing before he came to us. Not been scoring very well at all for Rotherham. Not really been trying, I don't think, for me. I would have moved him on, but would that be a bad idea if you're going to be able to pay him off and just keep him with us? Then and not have him with one of our competitors, because he would probably go to a League One club and start putting them in like sweets. Jordan Hugill, I think he's got a good thing to prove next season to the fans and to the manager. I think he can do it, and he's certainly got the class. He's got championship class. He can do it in League One. Let's see if he does in next season. Zach Jules and Sean McWilliams. That's another surprising one for me. I thought he might be moved on, but he's been kept. We have released just 4, which doesn't give us very much room for manoeuvre, does it? Andre Green, Alex McDonald, Dylan Phillips and Jake Hull. Andre Green was injured for far too long. Really not much use keeping him. Alex McDonald, yeah, okay, I can see why. Dylan Phillips, he made too many howlers, I'm afraid. But how do we replace him? That's going to be the difficult, isn't it? And Jake Hull. a little bit surprised about that. I think you've got to give people like that a chance, and I don't think he was given the best of chances there. Offered new contracts: Odoffin, Cameron Humphreys, Hamish Douglas, Coyote, and McGuckin. And we were looking forward to hopefully one or two of those actually staying. But I think there's a fair few of us who are thinking, there's going to be a fair few of those moving on, I think. So we have a good squad. We have a squad that can do well. However, they didn't play because they didn't play well last season at the beginning because eventually the boss, Steve Evans, started to attack each player for not doing well and pull them out in front of the rest of them for being the worst player on the pitch. And also they were only trained for I think 1 day or half a day a week. So and the rest of the training sessions were apparently not. They don't have to turn up for them. They were optional. So more training, more fitness, same players. Don't know. At the end of the loan, we have Malik Wilkes, Lewis Sibley, Dan Gore, and Peli Mpanzu. How on earth we managed to get a couple of those, I haven't a clue. But we're hoping as fans that we can keep our connection with one or two of those Premier League sides nice and intact for next season. Options exercised on Jack Holmes, Ben Hatton, and Josh Ayres. So we're looking after the kids, which is good. The new manager does want to look after the kids more, and that was one thing that we sort of missed with Evans. He always seemed to overlook the kids, so he's doing well on that side. Young players off it. We've got 3 new ones coming in. On the kids' side, Richardson, Clark, and Wilson. So well done and welcome to Kane, James, and Reese. We look forward to seeing whether they can make it into the first team because at the minute, very small squad indeed, and we don't seem to be able to. We've only released 4. I can't see how we can really improve by getting people in. There's certain positions we have to. We need another goalkeeper now because we've already got one. We've released Dylan Phillips. We need at least someone to replace him. I think there's going to be an interesting summer season. I think that with this squad and a very small amount of leeway for recruiting, I would be thinking again the same as what I said last season. I would be thinking somewhere around the 7th to 14th mark. Hopefully at the top end of that, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. To be quite honest, I'm like most of the Rotherham fans. If the manager comes out and says that we are actually in transition this time, not like what Evans said, but we are in it and we are going to try and build the squad for another couple of years. Then, and if he says then that we're going to go for 10th, fine, we'll be absolutely happy that we're going for a particular position, and we made it attainable, which we didn't last season. We're definitely going to be fighting for the top 3. We're definitely going to be fighting for the top. No, it's transition year, guys. So it was really, really crap. So hopefully this year he comes out and he says, "Bang! We're hoping to get this sort of range of position, and we'll be happy because it's most likely not going to be in the top 6. I don't think. I think we are trying to create another squad here, trying to develop it in our 100th year. So let's see. I think it's going to be, like I say, somewhere between 7th and 12th, 13th, 14th, and we can move on to the next one, which, if I'm not right, we're very near the end now. It's going to be Wigan because obviously didn't do Shrewsbury, so it's going to be Wigan, the last one. And Wigan fans, we have come down. Please do like and subscribe. We're going to go through the Wigan squad now and see what they've done. Now, players contracted, they've got another big list here. But you see, this side was already really good, wasn't it? They really underperformed last season, and I was quite surprised at the fact that they weren't always at least in the middle of the league, finishing in 16th on 56. That they were like Mansfield, just hovering above that. Ooh, we could be in danger here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 18 retained, including Sam Tickle, John Mellish, Dion Rankin, Toby Sibic, James Carragher, Jason Kerr. There's some really good names in here. Really are some really good names. Joseph Hungbo. There's some really good names in there and some really good prospects. And I think this side has lots of prospects for the future. And I think it could be my one to watch. It's really one of those sides that should be and could be. And last season, I think if I had to put two little phrases for this side to depict what this side was last season, I'd say should be, could be. They were just that should be, could be side for me. They should be better. They could be better. Just didn't quite do it, did they? Options triggered on Tom Watson, Luke Robinson and Joe Adams. Yeah, I can see why. Discussions with Matt Corran, Callum McManaman and Harry McHugh. Okay, out of contract, we've got Scott Smith and Andy Lonergan. Made available for transfer, we've got Stephen Sessignon. And loans returned. We've got 6. So Chambers, Norburn, Dale, Goodwin, Thomas and Taylor. I don't think they really lit up the pitch for them. Not for me. There's 1 or 2 that sort of did occasionally light up the pitch. I think they could do better on that one. Under 21s, yeah, they've got some contracted players there. 7, in fact, out of contract and leaving the club for those. They've got Jack Bates, O'Doyle and Riley. So that's looking at the under 21s. Under 18s, they got offered professional contract. Wow, how many? They got 6, 9 players under 18. This is a side that I love it when they look at the kids and think, yeah, we can do something here. We can develop them and we can try and bring them into the professional arena and perhaps increase the standard of the younger players in the lower leagues, because I think that's where this side is trying to push better players into. This side, so last one, where do we think? Please do like and subscribe. We'll give you some more as we go through the summer period. This side, I think, has to be trying to aim for a top half position. I think they need to be looking at trying for a 10th, 11th position at least. This side can do better. The school report for last year, I think, could do better. It has to be, doesn't it? What do you think, Wigan fans? I think that they've got some good players. It's just, for me, you're looking at this and you're thinking 6 returned loanees. Yeah, I think that they can probably do a little bit better. They had a couple of those that were really quite good, but on the whole, I think they didn't get what they would have hoped for from the loanees. There's not an awful lot of movement that they can make out of contract to players. You're not really giving yourself an awful lot of movement there. but I think that the players that they've got are quintessentially quite good. I think that they should be looking at sort of like 9th, 10th, 11th at least. This side, though, could be one of those that just suddenly hit the ground running next season and prove us all amazingly wrong. Tell me what you think, Wigan fans, because that's my first video of the summer. Please do like and subscribe, and please do join the happy band of John Esse's Sports Channel, and you'll get more videos like this if you want them. Thank you. Like and subscribe.